Okay, welcome guys, welcome to the 3D market commentary, starting off the week on Monday. My name's Becky, so you can turn your head that way and you will see my email address there, becky@tradictive.com, so you can email me if you need anything. There's also this link here that I'm just going to point to, tradewithufos.com/Becky. If you go to that link, I'm just going to bring it out now. If you go to that link, a couple of things will happen. You can set up a free Trade with UFOs membership up here. The Trade with UFOs membership is good for a couple of reasons. You will get the newsletter, the news flash that I'm about to go through today, which is the point of these sessions that we do every morning. You'll get that every day that will come through to your email. You'll also be able to have access to ask questions in a public space, which I think is a good thing, that if you have a question, you can ask it in a public space and it will be answered in a public space. So you could come down here and see prior questions that people have asked and then what the answer to it is as well. So it helps the entire community if questions are asked publicly where everybody can see the answer. Of course, you can email me instead if you'd really like to, becky@tradictive.com. But otherwise, setting yourself up with a free membership and doing it that way is what we would prefer. And again, you'll get the news flash as well if you get a free membership. So that's that done. I'm just going to make sure the disclaimers are going to be highlighted here. There they are, they're at the top of the screen. Obviously important that you guys read them, not just legal reasons, but it's important to know that when we do any kind of session, whether it's on YouTube, in our closed trading room, on Facebook if you're watching it on there, wherever you watch these, that what we do is demonstrate how we use the technology and how we use the products that we're going to talk through. It's ultimately up to you what you trade, how you trade, what you do. Okay, so what is a 3D market commentary? What's the point? What are we doing? So every day we send out, let's just bring these up, we send out a news flash, looks something like this. And that corresponds, or the information on that corresponds with 5 major markets in the world and the information that our technology gathers from it. Now we use technology to help us figure out, should we be trading at all? If so, should we be going long? Should we be going short? Should we be buying? Should we be selling? And if we're going to buy or sell, where are we going to do that? And we use technology to help us answer those questions. So we have 3 different things that we're going to look at mainly. So as we see here, I'm just going to highlight this bit. We're going to look at market climate. So that's whether or not we're going to go long or short, up or down. And we use this technology down here. Thick dots, thin dots, different colours. I'll explain it as we go. So we've got auto climate. We're also going to look at UFOs, unfilled orders. These are these little things that look like flying saucers. These are showing us on a chart where we have big stacks of buy orders or big stacks of sell orders. If we have a big stack of buy orders, it's likely to push price up. If we have a big stack of sell orders, it's likely to push price down. So again, we're using technology to scan through market data and show us where those orders are likely to be. We're then going to look at market volatility to understand what we can expect in terms of movement. What is the expected move up or down within a given period of time, roughly, so again we can figure out what we really should be doing. So we'll go through that per market for 5 of the major markets in the world and go from there. So the first one we're looking at is the S&P 500. We're looking at it through the ES, which is the futures contract, and the S&P 500 is an index that represents 500 of the top US stocks. If you don't understand anything that I just said, just understand that what we're looking at represents US stocks. So, market climate, we have a current climate which is down and it is confirmed. Now we know that because we have a thick red dot here on our auto climate. Thick red dot tells us confirmed downwards climate, which means probability to the downside. Now, what do these stats mean? What do these numbers mean? The stats that we have here, and I'm just going to highlight them maybe in a different colour just to really point them out. The stats that we have here tell us that usually this market would come down for 3.02 candles. Now I know that's a really small decimal place, but I'm going to round that up. Whatever the decimal place is, we round it up. So we're going to say 4 candles on a daily chart. By the way, all of the markets that we go through are on a daily chart. Of course, different things happen on different time frames. So normally this market comes down for 4 candles, and we have so far been coming down for 1 candle. Meaning we're at the start of a move to the downside, meaning that we have probability of a continuous move there to the downside. So again, we have confirmed downward climate, probability to the downside, and more likelihood that it continues down based on what normally happens. So far there, climate there to the downside. Now, when it comes to buy and sell UFOs, I'm just going to switch this to just prove my point here. We have no sell UFOs above us. I'll show you what they look like in a minute. They're little red versions of these things. And we have nothing above us right now, which means no sell orders at the moment above us on a daily chart. Our closest buy UFO is this one here, and the numbers for that are 3480 to 33.19. Those are where the big stack of buy orders are, being highlighted there by our green UFO. So overall with the S&P, probability to the downside when it comes to the climate, but we don't have sell orders nearby to know exactly where that might happen or give us higher probabilities of where that might happen. We've got a little bit of move to the downside. We're currently at 3849, so it's got to drop quite a few points by the time it reaches the big stack of buy orders. So I'd say overall probability there to the downside with the S&P. Now, when it comes to volatility, we look at the VIX and we can see from that and extrapolate out of the data that we get from there that we would expect a movement up or down in one day of 68.03 points, up or down. In a week, we would expect a movement up or down of 149.76 points. And in a month, we would expect a movement up or down of 311.76 points. So again, that's not to say that's going to exactly move that amount. It just gives us an idea based on volatility, which comes from options prices actually, as to what we can expect up or down within these given periods of time. We can then use our climate and our UFOs to help us figure out in which direction that's more likely to happen. So again, we're using technology here to put probability on our side. So let's move on to the next market. So the next one we're going to look at is oil. In the meantime here, you've got this bit here. You can click on this button if you're interested in any of the courses that we do. Futures, stocks, forex, backtesting, trading plans, psychology, more courses to come as well. All the courses come with 3-month complimentary access to the apps. So again, you can kind of use them in that way to be cost efficient actually with the apps and the education at the same time. So moving on to crude oil, just scroll that down. So CL1, that's what we're going to be looking at here. So again, the continuous futures contract here for oil. Just going to scroll that down and move it down a bit so we can see our lovely UFOs. Okay, so here we have a confirmed upwards climate. So current up, confirmed, yes, great. We can tell that because we have a thick blue dot. That tells us we have confirmed probability to the upside. Now, with that, usually this market would go up for 6.41 candles, so 7 candles, and it's been going up now for 18, meaning we have more than twice surpassed what is a usual move to the upside. So although we have probabilities to the upside still, we have less probabilities of them continuing. If it normally goes up for 7 candles and it's gone up for 18, we have more probability of it changing direction than continuing in that same direction. The more you pull an elastic band to keep pulling, the more likely it is to snap back on itself, the less likely it is to allow you to keep pulling it. So it's that kind of theory here as well, so just be aware of that. When it comes to UFOs, we have a buy UFO here. The numbers for that are, actually there must have been a UFO just below us there that's disappeared. So it's 63 to 60.67, that's disappeared now. So we actually have one just below us a little bit further, which is 57.29 to 54.81. Now what happens, these are unfilled orders. When the orders get filled, the app takes them off the chart. So it's not going to tell you to get into a trade or have a look at an area that there is no longer probabilities. So now we have our closest buy UFO just a little bit below. Closest sell UFO is just here, which is 62.65 to 63.81. So that's what we have there. Okay, so when it comes to volatility, we see from that we would expect a movement up or down in one day of 1.61 points. In a week, we would expect a movement up or down of 3.54 points. And in a month, we'd expect a movement up or down of 7.38 points. Okay, so just moving on to the next market there. So we have AutoUFOs. In the meantime, if you know how to trade different things, you're not interested in any of the courses and get any apps for free attached to the courses, you can just get the apps. So you can subscribe to any app that you need by clicking that. AutoClimate by itself is a free app, so you can actually just download that, and the AutoUFOs, depending on which platform you use, come at different costs. But on TradingView, $34 a month. So let's look at gold. That's the next market here. So here we go. So with gold, we have a confirmed downwards climate, probability to the downside. Usually it moves down for 7 candles, again just rounding that up, and we're on candle number 2. So probability of a continuous move down. When it comes to UFOs, our sell UFO that's closest is just above us here, 1782.2 to 1815.2. Closest buy UFO, quite a way below us at 1652.8 to 1624.4. So those are our UFOs. We're kind of in between both of them at the moment, but overall pressure there to the downside with gold. When it comes to volatility, we can see that we would expect a movement up or down in one day of 23.62 points, in 1 week up or down of 51.99 points, and in 1 month up or down of 108.23 points. So again, that's what we would expect up or down within these given periods of time. We can use our autoclimate and our UFOs to help us figure out exactly where that's more likely to happen and for how long. Okay, so moving on to the next market, in between times, we have this here. You might be somebody that already knows how to trade certain things. Maybe you're new to using the apps. Maybe you've got the apps and you just want help with live market situations on a daily basis. You can join us on our coaching. It's $21 a month, or you can get even yearly discounts or all-inclusive discounts. So you can join us on our coaching if you would like to do that. Let's just move down here to the next market, which is the dollar. Now, the US dollar is responsible for about 80% of transactions worldwide every single day. So we should be aware of what the dollar is doing, even if we don't trade it, even if we don't trade dollar currency pairs. It will affect things like gold and oil and Bitcoin and everything, right? So we need to be aware of what the US dollar is doing regardless. Now, when it comes to the US dollar, we actually have a confirmed upwards climate, because we see here we have a thick blue dot there. In terms of stats with that, I'm just going to use the stats here. Normally this market goes up for 5 candles, and we're on candle number 1, which means we have room for continuous movement there to the upside. When it comes to UFOs, we are in between UFOs at the moment. We are slightly closer to our sell UFO, which is here, 91.49 to 92.04. And closest stack of buy orders is here, 90.445 to 89.675. Now those are our buy orders and sell orders that are close by. Again, we're in between them. Overall probability there to the upside with the dollar. Now, when it comes to market volatility, we see from this that we would expect movement up or down in 1 day of 0.43 points, in a week 0.95 points up or down, and in a month 1.97 points up or down. So again, gives us an idea of what we can expect up or down on the dollar in those given periods of time, and we can use the other technology to help us figure out in which direction and for how long. Okay, let's come down to the Bitcoin. Again, just a little point here that of course you can follow us on our YouTube channel. You're probably already watching this on YouTube or something like that, but we do loads of other sessions on YouTube as well. So if you click that button, it will take you to our YouTube channel, and you'll see other sessions that we do in Forex, futures, options, sharpening, psychology, loads of other things that you can find on the YouTube channel, which of course you can access for free. Now let's have a look at backed Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is obviously in the news a lot at the moment. It's quite volatile. We should be aware of that. We'll come to that in a second. At the moment, we have an unconfirmed downwards climate. We can see that because we have thin red dots. Whether it was thin red or thin blue, either way, it would be unconfirmed. The fact that it's red tells us it's slightly down, but it's not confirmed, meaning no probabilities. We don't want to be placing trades when we don't have probabilities. Now, usually this market would go down for question marks. We don't know how long it goes down for. That's because it's a newish product. We don't have enough data yet to be able to say this is what usually happens, this is what normally happens in this market. So we're kind of a bit blind when it comes to the stats on Bitcoin for the moment. Only time will help that for us to be able to get enough data on a daily chart to be able to make these predictions. What we do know is that we're on number 3 of a movement there, which is kind of unconfirmed. So again, just be aware of that. In terms of buy and sell UFOs, we have a buy UFO here at 39,157.5 to 32,192.5. And then we have a sell UFO just above us there at 49,347.5 to 58,562.5. So we're actually closer to our sell UFO. We've got indecision, no probabilities either way. Something really we would keep away from until we have confirmed probabilities in one direction or the other. Otherwise, you just waste your time and money to put trades on that don't have statistics on your side, doesn't have probability on your side, meaning you're more likely to lose money. So we want to keep away from that. When it comes to volatility, we can see that we would expect to move up or down in 1 day of 3,304.70. In a week, we would expect a movement up or down of 7,274.95, and in a month, a movement up or down of 15,144.03. That means that this market is extremely volatile. If you look at those numbers versus the value of the product right now, you're looking at very high percentages. So be aware of that. It's not necessarily a bad thing that it's extremely volatile. If you're on the right side of volatility, you'd be happy about that, but just be aware of it. That's why we show these figures, so that you can make decisions. You've got information, objective information, to then make a decision based on your subjective way of looking at the markets, your subjective view on risk and things like that. So just be aware, Bitcoin is an extremely volatile market compared to the others. So just be wary of that, and understand where the probabilities lie. At the moment, we don't actually have probabilities either way. Okay, so just to round up here, just to say, you might have questions about these kind of things. You might be thinking, I'm not sure what apps to use, or actually I use TradeStation, can I get apps on there? Or you might be thinking, I trade Forex already, but actually I want to learn about futures, or I want to understand Bitcoin, I want to understand cryptos, whatever it is. You can schedule a self-clarification call with one of our experts to talk through the markets you should be trading. Maybe you shouldn't be trading at all, and they'll tell you that as well. So you can kind of talk through these questions that you have, and then figure out what would be best for you moving forwards in terms of apps or education, or again, whether or not maybe you shouldn't even be trading. That might be a conversation. Okay, so just to round up here with our weekly economic calendar. This is last week's calendar. I think I went through an older version of this. So just check, if you go to fxstreet.com/economic calendar, let's do that now. fxstreet.com/economic-calendar. Go to site. What we filter by is high impact news and this week. So let me just move those things around so we can see here what we've got upcoming. So be aware that today, this is GMT, so let's just make this what it should be. Standard time. Cool. So be aware that today, obviously, news on the euro would have already come out. We'll have news coming out on US dollar that would affect US dollar markets or US markets. Euro again at 11 o'clock or just gone 11 o'clock, and then Aussie dollar later on this evening. Again, we don't necessarily use this to avoid those markets. We don't use this to make decisions on those markets. But again, just be aware that high impact news can cause volatility in the market. So we want to just be aware of it so that we can manage our risk accordingly. Okay, so that's me done. That's the end of the 3D market commentary today. My colleague Boyan will be back tomorrow to go through it for tomorrow. So happy trading, guys. Have a good week. I'll be back on Thursday, so I'll see you then. Any questions in the meantime, email us, or as we said, you can go to tradewithufos.com/Becky, get yourself a free membership, and then ask questions publicly so that other people can see the answers and we all learn from it. In the meantime, have a good one.